Hello guys, welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to create a password generator using C#. This is the UI we are going to begin with. Let me run this app. Here we have a label wherein we can fill in the password, and we have various options here. We have a track bar which gives the length of the password, and we have various checkboxes to determine what characters the password will be consist of. It can include a lowercase, uppercase, digits, and symbol. Once the user has selected this configuration, he will click on generate, and this would in turn give in a password of the length of his choice as well as the configuration he has chosen. And finally, the user can copy it, which would just copy the text to clipboard, and he can use it wherever he wants to use. So let's get right into it. Let me add a event handler for generate button. The first thing we are going to do is to create a helper class. The purpose of this class is to take in the inputs from the UI and generate the password. So let's add a static method here. The generate password method will take in the configuration from the user and helps us generate the password. For now, I would have a variable here, generated password. As you can see, the user need to choose length of the password and choose various checkboxes. We can represent them as boolean, is lowercase, is uppercase, is digit, or is symbol. And we can have the length as integer. So we are going to add those things in the parameter list. Now the structure of the method is not so elegant. As you could see, the number of parameter takes is around 5. So let's go ahead and fix that. We are going to add a param class. What we are going to do is just copy this and make this as properties of this config class. We have taken all the parameters of the generate password method into this class. Now we can replace the parameters with the instance of this class. Now the method looks more elegant. So the API is fairly simple. We give the config to this method and we get the password back. Now let's make the connection to the UI. I will add a method get generate config that would create an generate config instance with the values filled in. Let me fill in the properties with the UI element. getGenerateConfig method would grab the status from the UI elements and create a generateConfig object out of it. This generateConfig object, we would be passing it to this helper class and get the password as a string. That's what we're going to do next. The output of this generate password method, we are going to set it to the text box for the password. Let me run this. I'm going to choose some value. As you could see, we have e symbols and is uppercase as false and length is 17. So it works. So now we have the data from the UI. We are going to process and generate the password using it. Let me add a character list first. The purpose of this list is to collect all the possible uppercase, lowercase digits and symbols as a whole, and then use this whole composite list for further processing. So based on whether the user has selected these options, we are going to expand this list with all the possible values in it. Let's add an enum to represent each of these different char types. Using enum makes the code much more meaningful. So we have enum values for each of the options in the UI. Now let me add a method that would give character list based on the type of character. The parameter would be char type, which is the enum. So if char type is lowercase, we are going to use a special method, Enumerable.Range. It's something like we could start with an integer and specify a count. Let's say we start with 5 and specify 5. It would return a enumerable integer, which would be kind of like a list of integer, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like that. So we are essentially getting some list of integer here. Instead of integer, I am going to pass in a character. This would in turn take the ASCII value of the particular character. Here I have specified A. The ASCII value of A would be passed to this method. And I want the count to be the ASCII value of Z minus ASCII value of A plus 1. Essentially, we would get 25 for this, plus 1 would be 26. We are just specifying the range of lowercase alphabets. And I'm going to use select method of link, and it already suggests what I'm going to do. So what's happening here is for every value, like ASCII values starting from A to Z, we are converting it to a character and making that converted thing to a list as a whole. So we get the list of character as we expect as this return parameter. So for lowercase, we have handled that. So let's handle for the uppercase as well. Just change the characters. Let's handle digit as well. Starting would be 0, ASCII value of 0. We have handled three cases. Let's handle the simple case as well. So I have a string which has all the known symbols from the keyboard, and I'm going to iterate it over uh, each of the characters and pass it through the method char.esymbol. So whatever passes this would make it way to the final list. Yeah. So we got our get characters method ready. So this would pass in the different types of character type and get the list out of it, which would essentially be a subset for this overall characters list. So things will be simple from now on. We are going to check whether it's lowercase enabled. If it's so, we are going to add those character list to the original overall character list. For since we are going to add a list of character to a list of character, we are going to use add range and then call the method. Get character method would get the char type as lowercase. It would come here and it would just iterate over this particular start and count of this particular ASCII value of the characters. And finally, from the ASCII value range, we are going to convert it to a character and then finally make it to a list, and we get list like A to Z. We are generating that. For uppercase we get capital A to Z, and for numbers we get 0 to 9, and the same way we get some symbols out of this. Using this condition check, we are adding the sub list to the overall list and finally use the overall list to generate the password. We could do the same thing for everything else. Let me click. So this is the overall list of characters we have. We have lowercase values followed by uppercase values followed by digits and the symbols that passed esymbol method. So we got our final list. We are going to select a few of the characters out of this final list. For that we are going to use random. We are going to select few characters out of the overall list. So how many characters we want to select? It's already available in the generate config. We are going to use that generate config.length. So we need these many characters out of the original list. Now select the characters. So we will, so let's say the length is 10. We will run this 10 times and we will select random indexes of the character. Select something random, like, so we use random dot next and we want to specify an integer which would be characters dot count, so that the selection happens over the entire list and it happens like what we specify, how many times we specified, it happens on the overall list. So here's how it works. We kind of iterate through length number of times, and for each iteration choose some random index after the original list, and thereby we get a character out of it and make this selected character as a list. So the end result would be some random selection of characters from the overall list. So we got the characters ready. With the characters, we can combine them and form a string. We use join for that. The separator would be nothing or an empty string in this case. And the second parameter would be selected char. So I think our application is good to go. So let's run this. So let me specify length as 12 and let me remove the lowercase digits and generate. We are getting a password with uppercase and symbols alone. Let me add lowercase. Yeah, we have a lowercase, uppercase and symbols. Let me add digits and we are getting all sort of things. Let me increase the length. Yeah, we are getting the password of length 40. Let me increase it or reduce it. We are getting a reduced length password. So our application works. One last thing we want to do is use truly random way to generate a password. So if you see this description, it represents a pseudo random number generator, which is a device that produces a sequence of numbers that meet certain statistical requirements for randomness. So the way this class works is it uses the system clock as a tick or a seed, and then use some mathematical formula that spits out some numbers that gives appearance of randomness, but it's not truly random. So if a hacker who is capable can find or figure out a way to guess this seed number, and if he knows the algorithm, he can generate the password our application is going to generate. So to handle this, we will write our own separate random class. We will have a next method as in the original class. We are going to use RNGCryptoServiceProvider. This class can help us generate numbers that are truly random. So we will have a byte array which serves as an input. We want integer, so we will initialize as byte of 4. That way it would be 32 bits, which is an integer size. And we use get bytes, and which would store the randomly generated byte values into this byte array. So once we have this randomly generated byte array, we can convert the byte array to integer. We use bit converter, and we are converting it to an integer. We are starting from 0 index. So now we have an integer in hand. This integer is a 32-bit number, which would range from few crores of value, 0 to few crores. But we would specify some length would be like 0 to 64 or something. So we want to just use modulus division in this case. Random integer modulus division by n. In this way, even if we get a very high number as random integer, we would be able to change it to 0 to 63, a very low value. So yeah, we could potentially replace this random class which uses RNG crypto service provider and help us get a byte array which is truly random, and we just converted byte array to integer and use it back in our original method. So I don't have to do anything else. Since I used in the same namespace, it would automatically pick up my random class instead of system random class. So yeah, we wouldn't see much of a difference, just that it's truly random. And we have to make sure the randomness is maintained in sensitive applications like password generation. So now it kind of works the same. So I made a mistake here. This would be unsigned integer so that you don't get the negative values. Let me run this. Yeah. So we are getting truly a random password generated based on our constraints of length and various sim character types. Hope this tutorial is helpful. So if you like this video, subscribe to this channel and stay tuned for future videos. Thank you.